Welcome to Global CEO Magazine, where we sit down with industry leaders and uncover their stories, their strategies, and successes. So today we are honored to be joined by Dr. Dilhan Jayatilleke. He's the Vice President, Events and Sustainability in Sri Lanka Institute of Marketing. Thank you for joining us here, Dr. Dilhan. It's a pleasure to have you here. So since we have a few areas to touch on, let me get straight to the questions. So my very first question for you is, sir, in the past few years, Sri Lanka experienced quite a lot of market disruptions and economic disruptions. So what strategies did you really implement in your organization to make sure that it really crossed this hurdle?
Yeah, if we are to talk about the situations we had and owing to, first of all, COVID-19 pandemic, then obviously it went on to, after about 2 years, it went on to the economic crisis, which all of us experienced. So at Sri Lanka Institute of Marketing, we actually had a journey of, first of all, COVID resilience, and then obviously falling into the economic crisis situation. So if I am to touch base from the era where we faced COVID-19, we did the Restart Sri Lanka campaign, which we believed as the national body for marketing. It's our responsibility to not only to survive ourselves, but also to make sure that the country survives. So that was intentional through that Restart Sri Lanka campaign, which I think most of you who are watching this would have experienced the Restart Sri Lanka initiative. On that initiative, we awakened the entire country and we made sure that everyone realized their true potential, not only organizations, which are the large conglomerates, but other corporates as well as medium scale, small scale and micro entrepreneurial segment also were empowered. So that's how we faced the COVID-19 situation and we awakened the entire nation. Then obviously we fell into the economic crisis, which again something that we never experienced before, and not to that magnitude at least. In that time, of course, we also faced challenges because we also do a business. We have education as our prime revenue source, and we also do our events, national events. We do about 7 national events in a calendar year. So all those are impacted because our stakeholders are the individuals when it comes to education, and corporates and businesses when it comes to events. So we also face challenges, but then also we had to take corrective measures like making sure that our initiatives are cost effective. Education, of course, we were having difficulties in attaining our targets, but then our team, thanks to our staff, which are very resilient, and with that experience of COVID-19, how we handle situations, and they cope up with it. And also when it comes to events, the companies were with us because we have been doing events for almost 3 decades. So corporates were with us and they were always supportive, and I think it was more relationship and network that we had throughout the country that helped us to make sure that we did not sink in that economic crisis. We also faced it, but we made sure that staff never felt it also. As a responsible corporate citizen, we made sure that, and also ensured that the stakeholders that we work with would instill with us as they used to be, because we have leverage on what we offer to the corporates because we have been in the industry for 50 plus years. So that also helped us with our relationship. It was more relationship game that paved us way through the crisis.
So if you are going to talk about challenges, I don't think we have to go through a pandemic or an economic crisis with the market conditions that we have, because it's rapidly changing. So it's very important that we are creative, that we come up with different innovations, we adapt ourselves to face these challenges. So next, what I want to ask you is, Dr. Dilhan, what changes did you make in your organization, or how did you adapt yourselves to cater to these market changes, to survive with this ever-changing environment?
Right, good question actually. I'll talk about education first. So because that's a prime revenue source as Sri Lanka Institute of Marketing. So we realized that there are a few areas that started developing through the crisis situation, and also with the wake of technology in the world over, we also saw some opportunities. So we also inculcated those changes to our courses. So we started programs with AI, data, and social media. So foregoing the usual theoretical education, we also made it more practical education. We wanted to, that's our mandate also. We want to make academics than academics who are able to do things practically in the workplace, in the marketplace, show colors with the paper qualification that they have. So we made sure that those new technological demands are incorporated into our training programs, as I said, on programs like AI, data, analytics, and so forth, getting into our curriculum. Also, at the same time, we realized that the workforce we have in the country need more, momentum to go forward and perform, because countries coming down from crisis, entire world we experience situations where things are not within our control. So people need to be more savvy in terms of what they do, technically and as well as resourcefully, and when it comes to skills. So we developed few programs to make sure that we cater to that demand in the market. And that's what we saw. Like, we have a national mandate. More than surviving as an organization, we have a national responsibility to make sure that we deliver the country with a pool of resources that are able to drive our economy. So we have that social responsibility part as well, while we are a business organization. We don't go as a corporate. We are enacted by an act of parliament. So we have ER organization, but we have a bigger responsibility than any other entity that we speak about. So that being said, our mandate focused towards that, because we realize that when we do that, we eventually get our business source, which is education business, plus we empower the nation with the workforce that we have through our programs. So we have 25 programs in our entire course portfolio. So those to develop to make sure that people can cater to those demands in the market that are coming up.
So still on the topic of navigating uncertain times, yes, strategies are important, yes, innovations and adaptations are important, but I think leadership is so much more important than that. You could have a lot of good strategies and good adaptations, innovations within your organization, but if you don't have a proper leadership, organizations would come undone. So what I'd like to ask you is, what do you think are some good leadership qualities that a person needs, a leader needs, to navigate their organization through these uncertain, unstable times?
Yes, I think since we speak about our entity, Sri Lanka Institute of Marketing, so I think I should touch based on what we believe as an organization, what's the most suitable at this point in time. So in my experience with our journey, as I started in the last 4 years, where we experienced challenges all the way, I think two things that I can pick in terms of what style of leadership is more suitable in such situations. One thing I would say is coaching leadership, where we need to value the human resource that we have. And even during crisis, we never went down on any salary or allowances reduction. We made sure that we pay everyone the same that they had, even though we had financial situation that we were coping up with difficulty. But then also at the same time, I think that's the rule is, what we feel is, we have to train people enough so that they can find opportunity everywhere. Means that they are well equipped with their selves so that they can do any job anywhere. At the same time, we have to make sure that we pay them well so that they will never want to leave us. So we adopted that principle. And coaching leadership is all about that, and making sure that they are given adequate training based on their relevant work functions, and equipping them so that they are able to perform what we want them to do, because we also work on a financial year as any other organization. Targets are there, they need to achieve it along with us, all of us together. So we need to make sure the staff are trained. So coaching leadership is number one. Secondly, I believe we are an organization that is very democratic. We listen to opinions. We have a senior manager, of course. I represent the Council of Management. Then we have the Executive Committee. All of us are doing a voluntary role, and there are of course paid staff. And we have a very democratic structure where they can tell us their opinions, we listen to them, and we always make sure that we implement if there are very valid outcomes from those discussions. So I think coaching style of leadership and obviously as well as making sure that we being a democratic organization, that's where we have gained success, if I may call it success, is that. So I think that's what my experience is owing to all these situations, facing all these situations and coming up.
The business world is ever changing. So how do you see Sri Lanka's business environment evolving over the next 5 years? And to add on to that, what key factors do you think would drive growth and success in the next 5 years?
Yeah, of course, next 5 years are also going to be very challenging, I'm sure, provided the fact that we will not face any such crisis situations like we faced in the last 5 years. But I think the biggest challenge what we have now is the human resource in the country. You talk to the youngsters, they all want to go overseas, right? They, even if they are not qualified, they want to find employment overseas. And if they are particularly qualified, then they would highly look for an opportunity anywhere in the world rather than staying in Sri Lanka, which goes on to say that either there are no opportunities or less opportunities in the country, in our market, or there are opportunities which are not communicated to the relevant target audience. Either of the two has to be the case. That's the reason why people want to go overseas and assume that they can be successful there than being here. Obviously, that can give them probably a monetary advantage than what they could start off here. Is probably higher when they go to another market where the currency value is higher. So, but having said that, and there are plenty of success stories in Sri Lanka. We have heard thousands of stories. Sri Lankans who have born and bred and lived their entire career here and made it huge in our country. So I think the fact of the matter is that the youth that are coming out of school are no longer equipped to explore the opportunities that are available in our market, so that they can get themselves involved in the workforce and find opportunity for themselves. I think we still want to, more than, even though we talk about a country where we need to develop entrepreneurship, people are still happy to go do a job and go in the morning, come in the evening, and then enjoy with their salary that they earn without exploring opportunities where they can grow for themselves. So that's, I think, the prime problem that we are facing. Even now, that's also a problem when we enter the careers, and even that remains today the same. That needs to be changed, and that's a mindset change that every youth in this country must take to heart. Secondly, I think whether our education system and the opportunities we provide in the education system are geared enough to make sure that the youth that we are talking about are able to go out and explore those opportunities, because you have to train them from the beginning so that they would know what they want to do. So rather than now, what we see is people want to see blank opportunity somewhere in some other country where you are a complete stranger, assuming that they can do far better than what they can do here. So I think this problem, or these two problems, are primarily two things that you need to address, which we will not be able to address in 3 months or 6 months time. But as we go along in the next 5 years, we need to completely focus on addressing these 2 points so that we can reduce the number of people that are going out, so that there are ample opportunities in the market so that they can explore and grab that opportunity. Then secondly, of course, the thinking of us and the other adults when they work with the Gen Z, and they always ask questions, which is not the era that I belong to. When we asked to do something, we never went back and asked the question, why should I do it and what's in it for me? But they asked these two questions, why should I do it and what's in it for me? So we need to address that. I mean, that's a valid question by someone asking, why should I do it and what's there when I do it? Whether there's anything good that would derive towards them. So I think this is something that many corporates are still failing to understand, because we have to keep in mind that these Gen Zs are growing fast and they are acquiring knowledge faster than us. More than they read books, they used to being held on to a device that can make them acquire more knowledge, because there are videos and stories that they can view than reading a book. So that encourages them to gain more knowledge, and they, based on that knowledge, they ask questions. So we belong to a generation where we didn't want to ask questions and we didn't want us being questioned. But this generation, more than the fact that they probably wouldn't want them to be questioned, but they want to ask why and what. And that's a good sign, and we need to take it positively, because we need to address Gen Z because they are very fastly growing than the rate I believe that we grew. So if we can't cater to that segment also, we'll have a problem. Next 5 years, we need to address these few concerns, then I think we would have a better environment in the workforce.
So you spoke about how human resources in Sri Lanka would rather go abroad than explore opportunities in Sri Lanka. So speaking about this global context, how do you plan to assert the position of your organization while maintaining the challenges, the opportunities that are presented to you both locally and globally?
Well, yes, in the local market space, we have, I would say, we have catered to every nook and corner. We deliver our education through our regional centers and study centers through to all the districts in the country. So the local market, we are more or less made our presence, but that doesn't mean that we have fulfilled the requirement of education. There is still more room for us to grow as well. We have kept that in mind, and we are still planning on growing in the local context. So more than education, we provide corporate training option for small, medium and large and extra large category organizations. We are expanding on that. So training, I think, more than education, now people are turning towards training because you need skills than the piece of paper, the certificate that you have. Because the people who are qualified and having a certificate also need to improve on their skills. So it's a more skills game than a knowledge game, I would say. Corporates want that, so that they want their people to grow faster, so that companies can go for the objectives better and faster. So we are catering to corporate training requirement as well in the country. Overseas opportunities, yes, something that we have not to address as it, but in terms of education, we are working closely with the Asia Marketing Federation, the AMF. So it's having a very lucrative presence in the region. So we are looking at taking few of our programs to our neighboring countries, and also two of our core and key events. One thing is brand excellence, which is in existence for 20 years, and we have the brand week. And those two events we are looking at again having in the regional countries. At least 2 countries we are looking at, we are having discussion. So we have come to realization that there is opportunity globally that are opening up than what we saw previously. So there are gates opening, and we want to make sure that Sri Lankan events like that need to go onto the world map. I mean, we host events of other countries which are spanned into many regional locations in Sri Lanka. One example is FE Global, which is advertising community, which is prevalent in over 80 countries. We are having it in Sri Lanka. But why not we can take a product of our own to world market, and how many other organizations and associations are doing such in other parts of the world? It's very, very rare. And even if so, it had never consistently taken place. So we want to take brand week and brand excellence to regional scenario first. Then obviously, we never know, it may attract more other countries, knowing the fact that the concept itself is highly demanding in Sri Lanka. And mind you that Sri Lanka caters better brains in branding and marketing compared to many countries in our region. That is something alarming, and we have a lot of marketing and branding resources located in various other countries who are Sri Lankan origin, and they are doing very well. So knowledge is here actually, and we have exported the knowledge. Let's not export the knowledge, but let's take our knowledge not by sending people for jobs, but by taking their knowledge outside, where our people can deliver our knowledge to other regions, so that they can also develop in branding and marketing, because predominantly that's our mandate as a national body plus as a marketing organization. So those are the plans on local and international footprint of SLIM for future.
So since we have such talent in Sri Lanka, I think if we play our cards right, we can make a drastic change in the Sri Lankan business environment in the next 5 years. So that brings us to the end of today's episode on Global CEO Magazine. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Dilhan Jayatilleke. It was an honor to have a conversation
Pleasure.
with you. So stay tuned for more in-depth conversations like this with industry leaders who are driving a change in Sri Lanka. Thank you for watching.